something very special has happened. A major shift, a generational shift. The metaverse, something very, very special that drags us to success, whether we want to be successful or not. So all of these things have one common thread. METAQUAKE USA is everything will always be live.
Welcome back to METAQUAKE USA. I'm Tyrone Taborn, and you're here at our new digs in STEMcityUSA.com. We're in the 24-hour newsroom, and we're also in the Linda Gooden Professional Training Auditorium. So invite your friends and invite them to what a real experience is and how we envision the metaverse. Now, a lot of you are wondering, what is the metaverse? Just figured out what the internet was all about. And now I'm hearing things about NFTs and blockchain and Bitcoin. And by the way, we have something called the Bitcoin, which is cryptocurrency as well. Well, my book will be out in September. So this is a series of interviews with some of the most innovators, imaginative, real achievers. These are the people who will help us go on this journey of explaining the metaverse. It will show us our contributions to help us get here to the metaverse. But finally, we're going to wrap up and we're going to talk about how you can participate, not in closing the digital divide, but resetting the technology for the future. You guys hold on. We've got a couple of commercials to show you. My very special guest is going to be on the other side. So just hold tight, buckle your seats. Here we go.
METAQUAKE USA is everything will always be live.
METAQUAKE USA with Tyrone Taborn will be right back after these messages.
What if you could build your own city? A place where every child can find nurturing people to help them achieve their full potential. A place where every adult can access job training support. Where health education is abundant. Where social justice ruled the land. A place without limitations. Welcome. You have arrived at STEM City USA. It is what every city should be. A safe and trusted community where you find people and resources to help you become everything you are and beyond. STEM City is unlike anything you have ever experienced. It is a digital twin of the world around you, only better. STEM City is about energy and soul renewal. It is more than a digital world. You can almost feel the power of live cultural events, music, and theater. STEM City promises a better future for children with caring mentors and hands-on activities with dedicated tutors to support our youth. STEM City is your passport to a healthy lifestyle with weekly events addressing our community's many issues. STEM City is your financial well-being with helpful information on wealth management, career advancement, job training, and so much more. STEM City is the community you deserve. It is the city where your dreams can come true. STEM City USA, a place in the sky that is accessible to all who reach for the stars.
METAQUAKE USA is everything will always be live.
Welcome back to METAQUAKE USA with Tyrone Taborn.
Welcome back to METAQUAKE USA. We have a fabulous guest today. It's tough for me to call him a guest. He's a friend. Someone that I followed and I've admired from the very beginning of his career. If you're sitting at a laptop, or if you're sitting at your personal computer, this next person made it happen for you. He, along with other researchers, all worked around the world trying to get to a common goal, but he crossed the line first. His name is Dr. Mark Dean. He is the 2000 Black Engineer of the Year. Dr. Mark Dean is an American inventor and computer engineer. Let me tell you what he did. He developed the bus system, and the bus system allowed us to actually bring large computers to the desktop. As a result of that, a computer revolution started where the barriers were not so high that other people could not participate in that. He's gone on and do so many other things and so many other great inventions. But let me bring him in. We want to hear from him. Dr. Mark Dean, how you doing, my friend?
Hi, Tyrone. How you doing?
Now that I see you, I'm doing great. It's always, you just excite me. There's some people you walk in a room and you say, how was I so blessed to be there? But let's start off with something. I want folks to hear, I can spend a whole hour just talking about how much I admire you. But let's start off with this. Let's talk about your important contribution. I wrote this article a long time ago called Mark Dean, Technology Invisible Man. Well, you're certainly not invisible anymore. Everybody around the world have started to acknowledge what you did. Can you lay out the tremendous contribution that you have in technology while you're at?
Well, Tyrone, I would tell you that I had the opportunity to work in an environment that allowed us at IBM, that allowed us to build something that was new and inventive, and it turned out to be a key tool in the advancement and support of everything from business to communications to entertainment and everything in between. So I'm going to say we developed a system called IBM PC that included technology that allowed people to do things more efficiently, basically. And my contribution was primarily, the biggest contribution I made was primarily in the development of what was called the ISA bus, the ISA bus, which allowed people to connect different types of devices, including fax machines and printers and more memory and displays and video cards and things like that into the system and essentially expand the system. It defined PC compatibility back in the day, basically. So most of the patents that I hold, including 3 of the original 9 for the original IBM PC, were in support of this ISA bus. I've done a lot of things since then, obviously, but if I had to pick one contribution, that was probably the biggest contribution that I made. We were surprised that particular interface lasted so long. It probably lasted 15 years, which is a long time in technology terms. But people were using that particular bus for a long, long time, and we're pretty proud of the impact that it had.
3 of the 9 original patents on the IBM PC. Every time I get these emails all the time from people saying, a person of color, you must be joking, is this made up? And we show them you, and they read this stuff, but you know how people see things over the internet, and they're always amazed, even to this day. The work that you did early on, how did that lead us to where we are now with the metaverse?
Well, it enabled what you might call the virtualization of society. It allowed us to connect beyond just making phone calls or traveling to see each other in person. It allowed us to simultaneously share information with multiple people at multiple times without us being face-to-face in person, for example. It allowed us to store large sums of information, including pictures and audios and videos and things like that. It allowed us to interact with each other in real time. And so all of this increased our ability to not only have fun through gaming and social media and those kinds of things, but to do business more efficiently. I mean, it essentially flattened the world. You know, it made the world flat.
And since we're talking about that right now, to all of our viewers out there in STEM City USA, if you look on the left-hand side of your screen, you will see a little button that says chat. And you can actually send chats back and forth and hopefully interact with you. Dr. Dean, people are really confused about this idea, this concept called the metaverse, because there's so many things. I mean, somebody might think virtual reality is the metaverse, whereas it may just be a tool. But people don't understand this platform, which is a 2D low-res metaverse. How would you define some of the key elements of what makes a metaverse?
Wow, that's a very broad question, and it's without context, it might be hard to give a simple definition.
Sure. Take your time. Take your time.
Yeah, so I would say the metaverse, one is normalizing, I would call it. I can be whoever I want to be in the metaverse. Right? I can create my own image of myself in the metaverse. It allows me to interact with people in a neutral environment. You know, I am not my physical view of me and other attributes of me don't necessarily come into play in the metaverse. It can, but it doesn't have to, as an example. So it could level the playing field for people that want to be more than what they are. If they want to do business, if they want to even play certain online types of sports, if they want to sell things, if they want to buy things. I mean, everything, they're equal. Everybody is on an equal playing field. Nobody per se should have an advantage one way or the other. And so I see the metaverse as something that allows me to do things that I may not be able to do because of maybe my other constraints that people might place on me. Right? I don't have those constraints per se in the metaverse. It allows me to do business more efficiently, right? And create things that I couldn't create maybe in the physical world. It allows me to be more creative. It allows me to engage people all around, anywhere in the world without me traveling and trying to get to them. So I see it as an ability for us to culturally come together, to experience each other in a way that I couldn't experience people before and learn more about them, thus increasing my knowledge and hopefully making the world a better place to live.
One of the things that I think young people really are finding it difficult wrapping their heads around all of this change. And if you were to go back and talk to a young Mark Dean, what would you tell that person, that young Mark Dean right now, at this point of their life?
I would tell them that anything they can imagine is possible, that there are very few constraints. The only thing that really constrains people is money, time, and risk. And as long as you can manage those three things, you'll be successful. So don't stop dreaming. Don't let anybody tell you can't do something if you really believe in it. And whatever you assume is going to be the limitation disappears with time, right? So don't.
We're going to take a break for a minute, but when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about Dr. Mark Dean, quick part of his history, what he's been doing recently, Then we're going to really dig down and talk about the future. What is the future? What does it look like? And then finally, we're going to talk about how you can be involved. You know, a lot of us think the technology barriers are so large, but when we're now dealing with a whole new technology cycle, new things happening, then that's when you have a lot of change to get in early of a new technology cycle rather than a maturing technology cycles. Hold tight, we're going to be back with Dr. Mark Dean, the architect of the IBM personal computer, the legend.
METAQUAKE USA is everything will always be live.
MetaQuake USA with Tyrone Taborn will be right back after these messages.
Calling all future STEM pioneers, leaders, and career champions. Join us on every second Saturday of the month for the BEA Career Day. BEA STEM Career Day is all about creating opportunities for students to venture into the world of STEM through the eyes of professionals. You'll meet mentors and presenters that will give you a sneak peek into the many options available to you in the field of STEM. Hosted by teen ambassadors, you'll find yourself among inspiring peers just like yourself that are aiming high for their future. To take part in the BEA STEM Career Day on Zoom, visit fullstemahead.us and register for the next session. Again, that's fullstemahead.us. BEA, becoming everything you are.
A world of careers unleashed. You can get it at BEA. Become everything you are.
METAQUAKE USA is everything will always be live.
Welcome back to MetaQuake USA with Tyrone Taborn.
Hi, I'm Tyrone Taborn, and welcome back to MetaQuake USA. We're here in STEM City, USA, in the Linda Gooden Auditorium in the Professional Development Building, and we're also in the 24-hour STEM City News Go. I'm talking to a person who has changed the globe. I mean, seriously, if you can think about this, we all contribute and we all try our best to make the world a better place. But I am talking about a person who's been recognized by the National Hall of Fame of Engineers, Academy of Engineers, and you just go through all of the work he did. And why? Because computer technology has changed the world. And Dr. Mark Dean played a historical role in putting that computing power on our desktops, now in our hands, in our telephones, in our glasses, and other places. Dr. Mark Dean, what motivated you? I mean, a kid from Tennessee, what motivated you to take this journey in your life?
I would have to tell you that my parents and my grandparents were my primary motivation. My father liked to build things, and he showed me how things worked, and I had a genuine interest in that. My grandfather taught me about history. He was a history teacher as well as a principal of the black school here in East Tennessee, and he taught me a lot about cultures and people, and what made people think, or how people thought, and basically how the world worked. My grandmother and mother were good about teaching me sympathy and empathy and the things that I think make me who I am today. So they've been the biggest influence in my life, continue to be a big influence in my life, and I'm really blessed and fortunate to have had them as my parents.
You know, it's funny that you talk about that, because I know your wife does so much with youth and education, and I know you do as well. But it seems like it doesn't fall far from the tree that we all stand on the shoulders of others.
We really do. I would not be sitting here talking to you today without all of the great people that came before and opened the door for us. And that's the one thing my grandfather made sure I understood, was that we are here because people suffering, innovations, hard work made it possible for us to have this privilege. And so I tell people that it was expected of me to be successful, to do all I could to enjoy and take advantage of the opportunities that were made available to me. And thus, if I hadn't, it would have been a waste. And so one of the greatest things my grandfather saw or was able to enjoy was to see me get a PhD from Stanford. I think that was the greatest achievement for me, just to see the look on his face when I brought that diploma, that PhD diploma home. That really was special. And I think it made him think that all of his hard work was worth it.
And by the way, what was your grandfather's name?
Eugene Peck.
And your grandmother?
Ophelia Peck.
And since I mentioned your wife, let's give her a shout out. I love her to death.
Denise Jackson Dean.
And she's got a great history, by the way. We have to get her on one of the shows.
Graduate from Harvard. As I'd say, grew up in Boston, and now is running a summer literacy program called Freedom Schools.
Isn't that wonderful? Mm-hmm. Dr. Dean, in 1959, we're talking about standing on the shoulders. We can clearly say 1959 is what changed, ushered in the digital world with the microchip. In 1959, you were 2 years old.
Correct.
In 1959, there was only one Black engineering school that was accredited, and that was Howard University. Mm-hmm. The point I'm getting to when I talk to young people and they look at you and they look at others and why Black Engineer of the Year is so important in our Hispanic engineer publications, because a lot of people don't see us in this whole technology area in significant numbers. Mm-hmm. I point out 1959 because a company called Intel was created. Fairchild was there before. The world changed because of the microchip. Mm-hmm. You came in much later. We had very few Black engineers in 1959. Right. So we could not participate in that explosion of knowledge. We were disproportionately set out. So by the time we started to produce more people like you, you were by yourself. Talk to me about standing on the shoulders of the people and how important that microchip was, and then ultimately your contribution to even a faster microchip.
Well, as you said, the microchip made the difference. It is the reason we are where we are today. It is the reason we can do the things we can do today. It basically changed the world. What I did was apply that technology such that we could deliver capability to individuals, right? Before the development of the IBM PC, most technology, chip technology was used in mainframes and maybe large servers. And the technology was only available through a terminal that somebody could get to, and it wasn't very personalized. Let's say it that way. What we did was essentially personalize the technology, allow computing technology to sit in the home, to be a person's information only, not be centralized. To give us the ability to store our own information and interact directly versus through someone else's system. The funny thing about it is, and my grandfather would say this, just if you wait a while, things come back around. So if you think about it, cloud technology is basically what we used to do with mainframes. And so it's cyclic. And I think it'll change again. You know, you have to be careful, but at some point, laptops and cell phones and all will eventually disappear. Something else will come along and replace that and give us capabilities beyond what we presently have today. So it's been an interesting journey. It's not going to stop. Computing has become a tool. As far as I'm concerned, it's a tool people can use like any other tool to build things, to make things happen, including the metaverse. It's basically a tool that allows us to create another environment, another world for us to do work in, to play in, to interact in. So, yeah.
When you talk about that personal storage of information, and by the way, this is a big thing in the metaverse, having agency over your digital information. So, but when you were working on that personal computer, were you in search of a solution? Did anybody truly think the impact the personal computer would have on business and households, individuals?
We developed that primarily to improve productivity for a person to get things done. That was the primary goal, to essentially replace a typewriter with something that would allow me to edit it and print it out once versus what we used to have to do with the typewriter. To give me a ledger or a spreadsheet so I could do calculations more efficiently than writing it down on a piece of paper and keeping ledgers in a piece of paper and correcting them with a pencil and things like that. If not that I have a spreadsheet, I can do it more efficiently. To actually be an artist, to draw and create things, either architectural drawings or diagrams or anything like that, using electronic means versus using a piece of paper. So it basically was to increase productivity. Now you have to realize this was 1981, productivity was measured at a different level. And so we thought, okay, we'll build maybe 200,000 systems in its lifetime, and then we'll go off and do something else. So we didn't think that we were changing the world. We thought, it'd be a useful tool, but not anything that was going to change the world. Little did we know that everybody wanted one. Companies all wanted to opt in and build similar systems, compatible systems, and add-ons. And all of a sudden, hundreds of millions of machines were being built and sold. So, it turned out it worked. We helped other people build them through the way we documented the ISA bus and other information in the system. And I think that made the difference. I mean, I think allowing others to build on what we had developed and create a compatible environment made the difference and made it the tool that it became, and of course changed the way we do everything.
So a lot of people listening to this show may not know the whole history. So now you have this hardware, and you mentioned a terminal where in the old days you would have to get the terminal and physically connect it to the frame, and then you would write in hello world and a lot of other stuff. But you guys came up with OS1, which was an operating system. Can you talk about how that, the role of an operating system really had an impact? And then I want you to jump over to the second part of the question, which is what happened to the computer PC revolution when we went with browsers.
Oh, well, the operating system that we originally had working with Microsoft and Bill Gates was DOS. And that was the original operating system for the personal computer, IBM PC. And what it did, it provided structure in how you interacted with a computer. It provided interfaces that simplified the way a keyboard talked to the central processing unit and the way the data would be placed on the display, the text and the pictures and all. It allowed you to interface with a printer in a common fashion. You didn't have to write a printer interface to send data to the printer. The operating system provided interfaces that allowed you to direct data to that interface, and then it would take care of the rest. So it essentially provided a structure to what was a raw piece of hardware and a somewhat raw piece of what we call firmware, which is software that talks directly to the hardware. It was the next layer up. So it allowed applications to get to that lower level hardware, basically, and set in the middle. And that's what operating systems still do. They continually provide that. Now, what has occurred of recent is the ability to do all the things we do with applications that tended to run local to applications that tend to run in the cloud. So now I can provide a much simpler system to you, but still provide all the applications that you would normally use, but they're managed and are stored in the cloud outside of my system, which should make them more up to date. They're changed more easily and creates a more level standard across all of the computers that would be working and sharing data and things like that. So it works to normalize the environment. The browser is the interface into that shared cloud application environment, that application world. The browser allows you to get to that. The browser also allows you to get to just data. I mean, it was how it allowed us to engage each other in a more streamlined, efficient way. Before the browser, all we could do is send information and receive information. We couldn't interact. It was much more difficult to interact. The browser pretty much allows us to share information and interact in real time, basically.
So what you just heard is that STEM City USA is your browser right now to allow us to interact and everything
basically
else.
It
right?
becomes, well, it's a very advanced browser because it does allow me to create a virtual environment that can share more complex information than just a traditional browser. It's much more complex interactions in STEM City.
We're going to take a break in a few minutes, but let me tell you what's coming up next. This is going to be the most important, exciting part. We're going to ask Dr. Dean, who's really a futurist, to tell us what the future looks like. And then we're going to try to wrap up a little bit toward the end, telling you how you can be part, things that you might be able to do, because if you know where the future is going, we know the future changes. So how can you meet up for those potential opportunities? But finally, stick around because we're going to show you what STEM City Chicago is doing in the virtual reality world. As you know, STEM City is on the Oculus platform and we're on Engage. So we've got a great video to show you. And I believe this evening we will be having a celebration party since STEM City USA has been named a finalist on a global award. It's the best Metaverse solution. So we're going to give you some directions on how to get to that party in virtual reality later this evening. We're going to be back in a few minutes. Please hold on. You don't want to miss the last part of METAQUAKE USA.
METAQUAKE USA is everything will always be live.
METAQUAKE USA with Tyrone Taborn will be right back after these messages.
could build your own city. A place where every child can find nurturing people to help them achieve their full potential. A place where every adult can access job training support. Where health education is abundant. Where social justice ruled the land. A place without limitations. Welcome. You have arrived at STEM City USA. It is what every city should be. A safe and trusted community where you find people and resources to help you become everything you are and beyond. STEM City is unlike anything you have ever experienced. It is a digital twin of the world around you, only better. STEM City is about energy and soul renewal. It is more than a digital world. You can almost feel the power of live cultural events, music, and theater. STEM City promises a better future for children with caring mentors and hands-on activities with dedicated tutors to support our youth. STEM City is your passport to a healthy lifestyle with weekly events addressing our community's many issues. STEM City is your financial well-being with helpful information on wealth management, career advancement, job training, and so much more. STEM City is the community you deserve. It is the city where your dreams can come true. STEM City USA, a place in the sky that is accessible to all who reach for the stars.
METAQUAKE USA is everything will always be live.
Welcome back to MetaQuake USA with Tyrone Taborn.
Welcome back to MetaQuake USA here in STEMCityUSA.com. And I do want to thank at least two of our major sponsors, Boston Scientific, that bought into the idea of the Metaverse a couple of years ago and gave a lot of support. David Stewart over at Worldwide Technologies, Air Force Research Labs. They did some incredible virtual reality things at the very, very beginning. So I just mentioned some visionaries, some organizations and people who thought about the future. Well, Dr. Mark Dean has been thinking about the future a long, long time. And this is a moment, Dr. Dean, tell us, what does the future look like?
Well, I'm an optimist. I'm pretty upbeat about the future because there's an endless number of possibilities. So there's still a lot of things that can help people work more efficiently, to enjoy things better, to get more information. We just have technology. I think what will be key is how technology is used, not technology in its own right, but how technology is used. So, for example, there's still a lot of things that we haven't yet figured out. It's interesting that the keyboard is still the device of choice for entering information. That's amazing to me because the keyboard's been around so daggum long. No one still has figured out quite a more efficient way of entering information, interacting with a computer. I think there are going to be breakthroughs that are going to change that. I always assumed that printed material would eventually be replaced by a digital tablet, or I would call it electronic paper. I think that's still in progress, but I think we're going to take it one step further. I think ultimately the phone as we know it, the smartphone will disappear. I will have a means of engaging and interacting with individuals without having to hold something up to my ear or have anything in my hand. I think that's going to be a big breakthrough. The use of AI is going to allow me to be smarter. That's the way I want it to be used, to keep me from making mistakes, either new mistakes because we can simulate what will happen, or old mistakes by making me aware of things that have been done in the past, and I'm getting ready to repeat it, and they were failures in the past, so I don't want to repeat them. So better, more real-time access to information that exists. I just have it right now. It's tough to get at it because there's not an efficient way of finding that information. This goes beyond search. It goes beyond traditional AI approaches like business intelligence. This is a simple, a way of, not simple, but a way of allowing me to gain insight in real time based on my interactions and the things that I'm trying to do. So I always imagine, I mean, it'd be great when I was teaching at the University of Tennessee, I always wanted a device that as I looked at students, it would pop up information about them on the glasses that I was wearing. So I would know where they were in their lessons, what grades they had made, if they had a birthday coming up, and it would just give me this information in real time, and then I could interact with them and without having to memorize everything per se that was going on. And obviously it would give me insights beyond what they may think I would know about them. You know, having that kind of technology on hand where so all this information is readily available and I have access to it will change the way we interact, make us much, much smarter. It's almost like what the calculator did before we had calculators and we started bringing calculators in the classroom. That made us a lot smarter. Bring computers in the classroom, made students a lot smarter. You could teach them more about stuff. This is beyond that. This is the next level, is how do I make individuals smarter about what they're doing in their daily lives, in their businesses in real time, and make their interactions more efficient. I think that's going to be what I hope will be one of the next big breakthroughs. I'll tell you, I'm also biased to biotechnologies. I think there's a lot of potential breakthroughs there, which is a little bit off topic, but I think computing will allow us to simulate those biological systems and allow us to know more about how to build them, leverage them, use them to make life better.
Well, what you just mentioned about augmented reality, you know, with the glasses and being able to access that information, but also that augmented reality can do the reverse. It can send that information. So that makes all of us citizen scientists, doesn't it?
It does. And thus, we're going to have to teach individuals how to safely leverage this information. I think that's one thing that we have maybe not done as well with technology, is to teach people the ethical way to use the technology. We expect, I mean, ethics tended to be taught in the home, which is fine. But with technology, my parents couldn't teach me ethically how to use technology. Now, I leveraged the ethics they did teach me and applied it to what should be the right thing to do with technology. But I think we need to consider, do we need to help our young people understand the right and wrong ways to leverage technology, to share information, to interact with individuals? You know, what is the right way to talk to somebody through an interaction that might be more virtual than real? When we first brought on board email, it allowed people to say things that they would never say face to face. Well, that was the wrong thing. We didn't teach people how to leverage email in an appropriate way. Eventually people learned, but I think we can do better this time around. And as we provide this kind of real-time interactive information, these virtual worlds, these augmented realities, we need to also help people understand the ethics about the development and use of those kind of technologies.
Let me go back a bit, back to 2002, when you were at IBM. You, Rod Atkins, so many others who participated in the Black Family Technology Awareness Program. As you recall, that was a signature program for IBM. And what we tried to do was bring all of this information. Dr. Paris, who I worked with very closely on Second Life, trying to get the Black Family Tech program up there.
That's right.
You remember all of that good stuff we did?
First, what I would call the first virtual world. That we worked on that. That was we weren't sure that was going to work out, but now I was reading that it's one of the largest virtual environments that exists. So, yeah, that worked out.
So, but again, when we look at something like a STEM city and what you just brought up about giving access, you know, STEM City USA is building the concept of that Black Family Tech program. It's only reversed. Rather than everything on the ground, it's now all in this metaverse. But we're bringing all of these resources like today, the opportunity for folks to really hear you and connect with you through chat and other kinds of ways. How can we use something like the metaverse to help more underprivileged people come online and get the resources that they don't even know about as we move forward? So somehow we don't keep having this have and have nots.
Yeah, I wish I had all the answers. I had thought, actually, back when we did the original IBM PC, that it was going to start to normalize between haves and have-nots. And maybe it's done a little bit of that. I wanted it to do more. I think we need to realize that life, that for people to have access to and to grow and to be successful, they need certain tools in life. Just like we have toilets and running water and electricity, and these things are important just in general to life. Well, having access to the internet and technologies that are available on the internet and the applications that are available on the internet, I think that's starting to be a right. It's like a right to good health. So for me, I think school systems, so we could start there, should consider providing every student with a computer. It could be just a Chromebook or something simple, but that's all they need to have access to the metaverse, to STEM City, to all these other virtual environments, because there's so much information and so many classes and things now online that learning needs to move beyond just maybe what we can kind of deliver in the classroom, right? We need to let students have access to information, somewhat like we used to let them have access to encyclopedias back in the day. You had to go to the library, or some parents were fortunate enough to be able to buy encyclopedias and have them for their students. I mean, this is way beyond that. I mean, just giving any child, a Chromebook and opening it up and pointing them to STEM City or any other online environment and say, look at all the fun stuff that's available. They will start to self-apply and learn a lot on their own, right? It's kind of like learning to ride a bicycle. You may have training wheels to start with when they start to interact with this computing environment, but at some point they'll throw those training wheels off and they'll be going 100 miles an hour learning all kinds of things. So just giving underprivileged students access through giving them a $300 Chromebook should be just assumed. I think it should just be part of our educational system per se, and from that, I think it will, more will develop. So I'm biased towards giving people access, making the internet accessible through free access to wireless technology, right? I think there's no reason why someone shouldn't have some ability to get online. And oftentimes that means having some kind of wireless or cellular connection. And it's embarrassing to think that a country like the United States has almost 30% of the individuals that don't have access to the internet. That's unacceptable. I mean, it should never exist. We should be able to solve that particular problem. A child should never go without having access to some kind of of tool that gets them on the internet. And maybe this is at the family level. You know, there should always be, just like there's a toaster and a microwave and an oven and a toilet in a home, there should be a computer in the home. I mean, it should just be baked into the way we live. So I think that I don't see why I think there are business models that you could bring to bear that says, yeah, I can put a computer in every home. That shouldn't be a problem, right? I mean,
The digital divide was three things. You know, it was hardware, it was access, you know, the quality of the access, and it was content.
Right.
So, you know, even when we were able to give some of this, there's no content. And that's why I think you can see a lot of people being not marginalized, but in a mediated worlds that only supports their views rather than expansive. This metaverse here, STEM City USA, actually works the opposite. It's like that library. When you come on the platform, parents and grandparents and teachers and educators who are listening, this is designed as a discovery. It's a destination. You can go to different buildings. You can watch videos. You can see live things that are actually happening. Dr. Dean, tell the educators, tell business people, what are the opportunities in the future? And particularly a lot of those opportunities being kicked off by things like the metaverse, which are built on engines. They're built on these major engines, gaming engines and other engines, auto sketch, all of those skills that are used to do quantum, that those skills are used to build cars so you can buy them online. So everything is in gaming. Everybody is going into metaverse and metaverse technologies and Web 3.0 in ways that they can't imagine, but it's going to happen. It's only whether you're going to be in front of it or in back of it.
Correct. Well, one, because my wife is a teacher, I have a lot of respect, not just because of that, but I have a lot of respect for teachers. They have a hard job. And I want to bring the teachers tools that will help them teach kids more efficiently and give them the ability to explore new space. Now, teachers have to opt in and not be afraid. And maybe one of the things we haven't done as well with technology is to help teachers not be afraid of the use of the technology. We should make it more easy for them to leverage and teach the kids, treat it just like a tool. The goal is not to replace teachers. We will never replace teachers. We shouldn't even try. We should give them the tools to make teaching more exciting for them and for the students, learning more exciting for the students, and make it very efficient and give them the ability to explore space that they couldn't explore without this particular tool. So we share a lot of the blame. I think the technology industry shares a lot of the blame because we haven't necessarily made technology easy for teachers to leverage. We should work at that because I think there's a lot of upside, a benefit from doing that. There's so much to learn for our future generations. They need to learn more than what we learned because there's much more to know. For them to innovate, there's a lot they'll have to learn. And so we're going to have to make technology, we have to make information available such that children can learn more and be more effective and not necessarily be burdened by it, actually enjoy it, but be able to put what they're learning to practice. I think businesses need to embrace the use of data. Right now, most businesses make decisions in an intuitive way. You know, they from their experience, they say, okay, this makes sense, so we'll decide this. I think they don't leverage data and history as much as they could. The use of AI and business intelligence and other technologies that can provide insights from that data is going to be key in the businesses that differentiate themselves. I think the businesses that leverage their data and other data that's available will be able to differentiate themselves from businesses that don't. They'll be able to make decisions that the other businesses will miss because they just can't see it, because they don't have a view into the data. So I'm looking at data becoming one of the new business currencies in the world. The more data I have and the more I can leverage the data, the more value my company will have.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mark Dean. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to 2000 Black Engineer of the Year, Dr. Mark Dean, the holder of 3 of the 9 original patents on the IBM PC, to something that changed our world and will continue to change the world. Now, I want you to hold tight for a second. We're going to take you on a tour, and that is STEM City USA, developed by STEM City Chicago. And this is on the Oculus Engage platform. So if you have those headphones, we're going to have a lot of fun in the future. Dr. Dean, hold on and take a look at it, but thank you and give your best to the family, and happy Memorial Weekend. Thank you, Dr. Dean.
All aboard. Step up, ladies and gentlemen. Doors are closing. Good day, ma'am. Good day, sir. Thank you for boarding. Have your tickets ready. Next stop is downtown Chicago. Unspoken promises are made forever, they're unbroken. No breath, no sight, eyes wide open but with no light. Everything about it seems so right. Darkness comes but I can feel you through the rain. The fire's still burning while I'm waiting for the train. The train, the train, the train.
When the night comes, I'm waiting for the train. right, step up, ma'am.
You can't wait 5 minutes?
I have to close the doors. Is there...
Just 5 minutes more, please.
I cannot wait 5 minutes, ma'am. I am sorry. I got a load full of people to get downtown.
You can't work with me.
I'm sorry.
Metaquake USA is everything will always be live.
Metaquake USA with Tyrone Taborn will be right back after these messages.